Hey there, folks. Michael Snap here, or Snap as the YouTube channel is called. I thought since I've had this motorcycle for 4 years now, this BMW G310GS, that I would give you my overall impressions of it and thoughts about whether I want to keep it or not, kind of riding I've done, and yeah, your basic 4-year review on the bike. I figured I'd do it with a little video being the backdrop again, kind of like I did about a year and a half ago when I took my wife for a ride and we went and saw just how well it would cruise on the freeway and so forth. With this ride, this is just up the canyon, not far from where I live, so I just, as you can see, rode right out of the backyard and getting ready to head up the canyon, which is always a good time. I don't care what motorcycle you're on. Motorcycles aren't boring, that's the bottom line. So neither is this. Being a motorcycle, it's just fun. There's some things I've loved about it, some things I haven't loved about it, and some things that worry me about it. So I'll get into pretty much all of that. A little bit of transparency here. While I've had the motorcycle for 4 years, I've only put about 2,600 miles on it. So I'm not somebody who rides all the time. I don't commute to work on it. I literally have motorcycles because they're fun, and for me, that's what I want to do. Just go enjoy them on the weekend, afternoons when I take work off. I don't really want to commute because that's where more of the accidents happen, and honestly, I just prefer to drive the car to work, park it at work. Now with the price of gas going freaking nuts, I kind of do want to ride the motorcycle, but I don't want to get the helmet head and deal with all that at work. So, you know, helmet hair, whatever it is. So really, I am just a weekend motorcycle rider. I'm not into big long distance rides. I've had a bunch of back surgeries and a neck fusion, so I like to go for shorter rides. So far, this motorcycle has been just fine for pretty much what I want to do on it. But there are some things that make me wonder if I will keep it much longer. First of all, a lot of people have talked about alternator problems and oil leaks and other kinds of problems. So I guess because I don't have a lot of miles on my motorcycle, I haven't run into those. But it's always in the back of my mind, when will one of these big issues arise with my bike? It drives me nuts worrying about that. And I don't do it the whole time I'm riding, but just oftentimes watching YouTube videos. Oh, you'll want to watch this. Man, how do they not see the white car coming? Anyway, the whole point of worrying is, I don't know if it's overblown or overstated or what. I know a lot of people have had some issues with the bike. I haven't yet, but I do kind of keep waiting for that time when it leaves me stranded somewhere. Keeping my fingers crossed that that's not ever going to happen. So far, so good. One of my favorite things about this bike is how well it does on the twisties. So here I am going up what's called Hobble Creek Canyon in Springville, Utah, USA. And sometimes you get stuck behind somebody going really slow, and it takes the fun out of it. But still, cruising on a motorcycle even slow, that can be fun. And this bike cruises slow just fine. I say that a little bit tongue-in-cheek. It's fun to open up the throttle and the twisties when the opportunity arises. I tend to be a real rule keeper and law obeyer. A lot of motorcyclists come down the canyon this particular day. Anyway, I'm not into zigzagging in and out of traffic, flying over the double yellow. If somebody pulls out in front of me, which actually kind of happens later in this video, then I will. But for the most part, I want to survive every time I go out on the motorcycle, so I try to ride respectful of the traffic laws. So that being the case, this motorcycle does all the speed limits just fine. It does wonderful in the canyons. It does okay on the freeway. I've talked about that in previous videos. Definitely is buzzy once you get up over 55 or 60 miles per hour. And it doesn't love to go 75 and 80 for a long distance. I think that's a lot of stress on the engine, and definitely a bit buzzy. I do get used to it. I guess it doesn't bother me after a while. But really in the canyon, like in this video, and on dirt roads and so forth, it's kind of the happy spot for this bike. My bike is pretty much stock still. I have the original tires on it. Again, because I haven't put a ton of miles on it. They're holding up really well. I haven't put bark busters on. I haven't put engine guards. All I did is put a radiator cover. For times when I go off-road, like I'm about to do here. By the way, this wasn't an aggressive off-road situation. This was just a dirt road with a lot of sharp, loose rocks, a few big ones, but there was no hill climbing, not great big dips and bumps and things in the road. But this road eventually ends, so I didn't go too far up this road. Also, because the camera I'm using here, the stabilizer mechanism is either non-existent or just not very good. But I'm leaving this in the video just to illustrate part of the reason why I have this bike. It's nice to know that I can keep going after the pavement ends. Now, I'm not finding I'm wanting to go off-road too much with the bike, but because I can, I do sometimes. I just haven't had that urge. In fact, after this ride, I was even telling my wife, I didn't even want to go off-road. I just wanted to stay zipping around in the canyons. So I do have a couple of dirt bikes, as was seen in the very beginning of the video. And that's what I'll go off-roading on when I really want to go off-roading, which that just is not as often as it used to be. I just don't crave it. What I do crave, and I've repeated this several times, is a fun canyon ride. I don't like cruising on the freeway. A great big cruiser style motorcycle is not my style. I'm bored riding on the freeway. So around town, in the canyons, and short rides definitely is what I prefer. This bike is awesome. One thing that makes G310, the G310GS so awesome is it's comfortable. I love the seat. Some people have complained about it, but for me and my particular back issues, this is a really comfortable motorcycle. And you saw me just turn it around on the trail a moment ago. Really easy to turn around when you have to get off and maneuver it. I didn't get off, I stayed on it. It's light enough that you can do that. And it's easy enough to pick up if you tip it over, which, by the way, I've laid it down twice, not in a wreck. I threw it down in a parking lot. I have a video like that, and then it's tipped over in the garage before. But it's light, it's comfortable, it's fuel efficient, and if you keep the RPMs up, it moves just fine. But yes, it is buzzy when the RPMs are up. After 4 years of ownership, I still like the looks of it. My favorite twisty sign that you see there. That means 6 miles of twisties. If I get rid of this bike, I will want to pick up a sport bike, like a Ninja 400 or a CBR 500. I had a Ninja 650 years ago. Actually, it was a 600 years ago. I love bikes that handle really well, but there's also certain cruiser style bikes I really like. I'm considering purchasing an Iron 883 or a Honda Rebel 1100 or even the 500, but I'd probably go for the 1100. I may or may not keep this bike when I get that. That's what I can't decide. Will I ride both bikes enough? I doubt it, but they're different enough. If I keep this one and get the Rebel 1100, they are different enough that I still may ride each of them enough, or at least enough to justify having both of them. I don't need a garage full of motorcycles I don't ride, which is kind of the case with the dirt bikes right now. By the way, this does so well in the canyon that in this very canyon, when I was heading up the canyon, where I am in the video now is going back down the canyon, I was just cruising, doing the speed limit between 35 and 45, and several sport bikes were flying past me. They scared me to death. I didn't see them coming in my mirrors. They came up on me so fast. But there was a group of about 7 or 8 riders, and the last 3 riders were on smaller sport bikes like the CBR and the Ninja. And so I decided to see how long I could keep up with them. And once we got on straightaways, like we have in this canyon, they would all start to pull away. Here we have somebody pulling out in front of me and me deciding to cross the double yellow. Okay, I do it once in a while. But anyway, I kept up with them. The last 3 or 4 riders, I kept up with them fine. It was probably a skill level. It's not that they were super skilled, and therefore I was able to keep up with them. But this has been so much fun in the canyon. So if I get rid of this, I do have to get a smaller sport bike. I don't need a leader bike. I don't need anything 1000 cc's or greater. CBR 650, a CBR 500, or again the Ninja 400 would do me just fine, because this has done me just fine ripping through the canyons. I've loved it. And by the way, I realize this isn't in some special order of my top 3 things I like and top 3 things I dislike. I'm just randomly throwing things out there. But this has been a super comfortable bike for my wife to ride on. The back is the passenger as well. She's had no complaints. We get off and stretch our legs enough that probably most motorcycles would be fine, but this is super comfortable for her and for me. By the way, I'm 5'8" and I fluctuate between 172 and 182. Probably about 180 right now. My wife weighs about 112 and it handles our weight just fine on the freeway or anywhere else. If you're wanting to set land speed records, no, this is the wrong motorcycle. But if you're looking for something that's fun and versatile, man, this fits that so well. If you're somebody who rides all the time, maybe you'd get bored with this. I do want more power sometimes when I'm trying to get up and go for the fun of it. It's always as fast as I need it to be, but sometimes for the fun of it, if I'm doing things I shouldn't be doing, then that's when I want a different motorcycle. But when I'm riding like I should be, this has always been plenty. So I guess to start wrapping this up, in 4 years I've had no issues with mine. Can't stand the tall kickstand, that drives me nuts. And I can't stand worrying often in the back of my mind that something's going to go wrong with this, so I ought to sell it before that happens. But then things keep not happening. It's been fun, but where I don't go off-road as much as I thought that I would on this, I've started to wonder if I shouldn't go for something straight road. But I know that I wouldn't be happy with just a cruiser. I would want something more versatile like this. Anyway, that's about it, because my granddaughter is going to show up here and start talking to me, and I don't want to talk over her. Hopefully this has been helpful. Ask me any questions in the chat if you'd like, and I will reply to each of you. Thank you. Bye now.
Hello! What? A ladybug? Okay, I'll be there in just a second, okay? Okay. Be careful, because this is really hot.